Hey friends, welcome back to College Sports Corner. I'm Barry. What a Saturday we had. And actually, we've had last few Saturdays have been really good. We've had some good games, good matchups, good upsets. So hopefully this trend continues throughout the season and every Saturday will be like these last few have had. Maybe this is our reward for going through that crappy COVID season last year. Maybe every Saturday this fall we're going to have great football, great matchups, and upsets like this. So hopefully that's our reward for going through that garbage last season. Anyway, before we get into everything, if you like the show, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers, subscribe so you don't miss a thing. And we're gonna before we get into the news and stuff, we're gonna get into the polls came out. So AP top 25: 1 Alabama, 2 Georgia, 3 Oregon, 4 Penn State, 5 Iowa, 6 Oklahoma, 7 Cincinnati, 8 Arkansas. They moved up. 9 Notre Dame, 10 Florida, 11 Ohio State, 12 Ole Miss, 13 BYU, 14 Michigan, 15 Texas A&M. They fell after the Arkansas loss. 16 Coastal Carolina, 17 Michigan State, 18 Fresno State, 19 Oklahoma State, 20 UCLA, 21 Baylor, 22 Auburn, 23 NC State, 24 Wake Forest, and Clemson falls to 25 in the AP poll. All right, the coaches poll: 1 Alabama, 2 Georgia, 3 Oregon, 4 Oklahoma, 5 Iowa, 6 Penn State, 7 Notre Dame, 8 Cincinnati, and Notre Dame and Cincinnati play each other this Saturday. 9 Florida, 10 Ohio State, 11 Arkansas, 12 Ole Miss, 13 Texas A&M, 14 Michigan, 15 BYU, 16 Michigan State, six. Oh, wait a minute. We got a tie here. Michigan State and Coastal Carolina evidently tied at 16. That's crazy. Uh, 18 Oklahoma State, 19 Clemson. They only fall to 19 in the coaches poll. 20 UCLA, 21 Fresno, 22 Auburn, 23 Kentucky, 24 Baylor, and 25. Look at Wake Forest jumping in there at number 25. So good for them. Do you remember we talked about how Portland State, y'all may have seen this, Portland State coach said, hey, come to the game and I'll buy you a beer. Well, he made good on that because his total beer tab was $14,448. So people got free beer for going to see a Portland State football game. And he kept his word, so that's pretty cool. News and headlines. Man, we got a couple sad stories here. I hate reporting this kind of stuff and talking about it, but oh man, Washington State wide receiver Brandon Gray was shot at an off-campus party as of a couple of days ago. He's serious but stable condition. Man, prayers to him. Hope he gets better soon, and prayers to his family what they're going through. And an even sadder story: Utah cornerback Aaron Lowe was shot and killed at a party early Sunday morning. Man, that just sucks. I don't know what you say about that. I don't know what happened. I didn't read much into the stories. I just saw their parties, and one of them, some people came that weren't invited, and isn't that usually how these things start off? But anyway, prayers to Aaron Lowe, prayers to his family and friends and teammates. Man, I can't imagine what y'all are going through right now. Washington State basketball coach Kyle Smith signed to an extension to the 26-27 season. I guess they like what he's doing there. I'm sure everybody saw the Ohio State linebacker, Kayvon Pope. Got pissed off on the sidelines, walked back to the locker room. Something about his playing time. He wasn't happy with it. So he goes to the locker room, tweets F Ohio State. Finally smarts up a few minutes later, says, maybe I shouldn't do that. And changes to good luck teammates, but it's too late. F Ohio State was out. It was all over Twitter. Anyway, Ohio State released him, so he's in the transfer portal now. It'd be interesting to see if anybody picks him up after that little display on the sideline last Saturday night. Who knows? Maybe somebody needs a linebacker really bad. Texas Tech quarterback Tyler Show out until November. Broken collarbone. So that sucks for Texas Tech fans. Friday night, Fresno State 38. UNLV 30. Rebels gave Fresno plenty of trouble. Held them to only 83 rushing yards. Bulldog quarterback Jake Horner did throw for 378 yards and 5 touchdowns. 4 of those touchdowns were to Jolene Cooper, so they got it done through the air. Charlotte 42, Middle Tennessee 39. 49ers moved to 3-1 after a pretty hard-fought game. Both quarterbacks had great games. Charlotte quarterback Chris Reynolds threw for 339 and 4 touchdowns and rushed for 1. Middle Tennessee quarterback Chris Cunningham threw for 379 yards and 5 touchdowns. So that's not a bad performance right there by both those guys. Wake Forest, we just mentioned, 4-0 now, beat Virginia 37-17. Their defense shut down the Cavaliers' running game, only held them to 97 yards. But Virginia quarterback Brennan Armstrong actually had more passing yards in this game. He had 407 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wake Forest quarterback Sam Hartman had 270 yards and 3 touchdowns. Cavaliers amassed more total yards, though, 504 total yards, and Demon Deacons had 473. But Wake Forest defense sacked Armstrong 6 times in that game. Pretty good defensive play there. Syracuse moves to 3-1, beating undefeated Liberty 24-21. Orangeman kicker Andre Schmidt, I think that's how you say his name, kicked a 35-yard field goal as time expired. So Orangeman starting making a little bit of noise out there in Syracuse. Minnesota, 30-point favorites. I don't know how you lost to Bowling Green 14-10. I don't know if the Gophers overlooked them, they weren't prepared, they're just uninspired. I mean, I don't know, but it's pretty sad. Falcons held Minnesota just 59 passing yards. Gophers had Bowling Green to just 22 rushing yards. So, I mean, it was a defensive game, I guess. Because neither quarterback had an impressive game. Rushing game scored all the touchdowns. Mistakes and penalties killed the Gophers. They need to get that cleaned up. This is their second loss of the season, but they can still make a run, I guess, at the Big Ten title. I haven't looked at the standings and seen who's in what place and all that, but at least Bowling Green is not in the Big Ten. Boise State 27, Utah State 3. Utah State was undefeated. Broncos quarterback Hank Brockmeyer threw for 288 and 2 touchdowns. Aggies finally got a field goal in the fourth. Finally, fourth quarter, they got their points. Guess it's better than getting shut out. Central Michigan had trouble with Florida International, but still won by 4, 31-27. Panthers were actually up by 17 in the fourth quarter until Chippewa's backup quarterback Daniel Richardson threw 3 touchdown passes in the fourth to win. That's pretty impressive. Panther quarterback Max Bartenschlager, I think that's how you say it. He had a good game, 397 yards and 2 touchdowns. Central Michigan finished with 589 total yards. Army remains undefeated, 4-0 after beating Miami of Ohio 23-10, and they did it all on the ground. Army had 0 passing yards, 396 rushing yards, though. And quarterback Christian Anderson rushed for 240 of those and 2 touchdowns. So Army with the ground and pound. Hey, LSU fans, do you miss your cardiac cats? Well, they're back. They beat Mississippi State 28-25 and gave plenty of people heart attacks there in the process. Neither team had an exceptional running game. LSU was held to 63 yards and Mississippi State 115 yards. Quarterback Max Johnson, just like last week, he spread it out all over the field. 17 for 27, 280 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick. Boudet had 2 TD catches. Wide receiver Palmer had a TD catch, and the tight end Taylor had a TD catch. Bulldog quarterback Will Rogers went 47 for 62, 371 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Bulldogs receiver Polk and Williams each had a touchdown catch, as did running back Marks. Shootout, the good kind of shootout in New England. Boston College 41, Missouri 34. I didn't actually see what was said, but I heard there was a lot of back and forth chippering and something about playing up there in New England, and I don't know. Like I said, I didn't read what was going on, but evidently both teams were talking crap, and they had a pretty good game afterwards. BC ended up with 451 total yards, 175 passing, 276 rushing. Mizzou had 391 total yards, 303 passing, but only 88 rushing. Pittsburgh had no problem with New Hampshire, winning by 70. Poor New Hampshire. Pitt had 707 total yards, 455 passing, and 252 rushing. Kenny Pickett threw for 403 and 5 touchdowns. Hammond rushed for 3 touchdowns, and Addison caught 3 touchdown passes. So, anyway, poor New Hampshire. Sorry, guys. Notre Dame 41, Wisconsin 13. Wisconsin was one of those teams I said at the beginning of the season is going to get over the so-called COVID curse. COVID curse of last year. Good teams who usually play great every season didn't play very well last season, the COVID season. Well, I said Penn State would be one of them. Sure enough, they're playing damn good football. I said LSU would be one of them. They're struggling, but they're getting better, so they're starting to play better football. I was totally wrong about Wisconsin. I don't know what the hell's going on up there, what's wrong with them, but I think they're probably going to lose a few more games, and there's not going to be the regular Wisconsin we're used to seeing. So, like I said, I don't know what the hell's going on up there, but I don't think they're going to beat the COVID curse. But I'm still trying to figure out the Irish. They keep flirting with losing games, but somehow they always pull it out. And they keep that kind of stuff up, especially next week against Cincinnati. They're going to end up losing a game or two. That's crazy. Barely win their first 2 games. They did a little better last week. Struggled through 3 quarters Saturday, then exploded in the 4th. What the hell is that all about? They just took a nap and sleptwalked through 3rd, and 4th they said, "Oh crap! I guess we better go. We're gonna lose." I don't know. Badgers, they played poorly. Mertz threw 4 interceptions. 2 were returned for touchdowns in the final 2:30 for that matter. Irish outscored Wisconsin 31-3 in the 4th. Can you imagine if Notre Dame scored like that in every quarter? Everybody would be talking about Notre Dame, but when you barely win, I guess, people kind of toss you to the side, but I don't know. And Notre Dame's offensive line has allowed 20 sacks in 4 games. They both need to fix their mistakes because, like I said, Notre Dame's got Cincinnati and Wisconsin's got Michigan this week. So, they'll fix it. Penn State moves to 4-0 after beating Villanova 38-17. Penn State was up 31-3 going in the 4th. Man, their defense played great. But both running games suck. Villanova had 58. Penn State only had 80. Northwestern, they went to 2-2 by beating Ohio 35-6. And Ohio didn't score until the last minute or so of the 4th quarter. Wildcat running back Evan Hall ran for 216 and 2 touchdowns. Northwestern keeps improving. That's good because it's only going to get tougher there with the Big Ten play coming up. Va Tech 21, Richmond 10. A win is a win, but it wasn't very impressive for Va Tech. Hokies had 318 total yards, and the Spiders had 237 total yards. In the 100th meeting of, what do they call it, the trophy, the skillet, golden skillet or something? Anyway, 100th meeting of TCU, SMU, the Fort Worth, Dallas Metroplex, the Metroplex Bowl. SMU wins 42-34. I don't know what's going on with TCU. These last few years, they just haven't been TCU. Remember, TCU used to be a damn good team. And I don't know, maybe the last 3 or 4 years, they've just kind of fallen off. I don't know what's going on up there. Anyway, Mustangs move to 4-0. Horned Frogs fall to 2-1. SMU ranked up 595 total yards, 245 passing, and 350 rushing. Quarterback Tanner Markley threw for 245, 4 touchdowns, but he had 3 picks. But he also rushed for a touchdown, too. 4 SMU receivers, Gray, Robinson, Curley, and Rice, each had a touchdown catch. TCU had 446 total yards, 276 passing, and 170 rushing. Quarterback Max Dugan threw for 276 and 3 touchdowns. Wide receivers Barber and Davis each had a touchdown catch, as did running back Evans. SMU's getting better the last few years, and TCU's kind of fallen off the map. Before it was TCU and SMU, now they're kind of switching places going back. So, I don't know. And TCU gets Texas next. And speaking of Texas, they beat Texas Tech 70-35. Longhorns ranked up 639 total yards, 304 passing and 335 rushing. Casey Thompson passed for 305 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 pick. He also rushed for a TD. Wide receiver Xavier Worthley caught 5 passes for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. Running back Bijan Robinson rushed for 136 and caught a touchdown pass. And running back Roschon Johnson rushed for 2 touchdowns. Pretty good performance out of them. Red Raiders quarterback Henry Colombi threw for 324, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. 3 different receivers caught touchdown passes. Hey, get this. Texas Tech was one of the top rushing defenses in the Big 12 until this Texas game. Texas put a dent in that. Their O-line just pushed Texas Tech around. I mean, I don't know what the hell happened. And then, it didn't get easier for Tech because they got West Virginia on Saturday. So they got some things to fix. Oh, man, and poor Vanderbilt. Man, 62-0 beat down by Georgia. That's just, man. Georgia held Vandy to 77 total yards. But Vandy, there's a bright side. Next Saturday, you play UConn. They have been getting blown every week, except this last week. They gave Wyoming a pretty good game. But you may have cause to celebrate Saturday because you are playing UConn, so you might get that win. So just keep the faith and everything will work out. Temple beat Wagner 47-0. Owls had 407 total yards. Quarterback Dewan Mathis threw for 292 and 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Carlos Reamer had 2 touchdown catches. And running back Kyle Debbins rushed for 3 touchdowns. Pretty good performance there by Temple. Remember Temple, they used to be like the bottom of the middle Big East Conference. They're like, I think the Big East even kicked them out because they suck so bad at football. Now over the last, decade or so, they've gotten better at football. So, good for them. I cannot believe this happened. I cannot believe Miami beat Central Connecticut 69-0. Anyway, Derek King was out with a shoulder injury, but his backups came in. They played good games. Van Dyke and Garcia combined for 417 passing yards and 5 touchdown passes. Both running backs, Harrison Brown, each rushed for 2 touchdowns. Hurricanes had 739 total yards and held the Blue Devils to 198 total yards. So, yeah, I guess something for Miami to celebrate. Coastal Carolina beat UMass 53-3. Coastal Carolina raked up 552 total yards. It held UMass to just 165 yards. Western Michigan 23, San Jose State 3. I figured San Jose State would play a lot better than this because they're a pretty good team. San Jose State kicked a field goal in the first quarter, and that was it. No more offense for them. I guess they figured, yeah, that's good enough. 3 points. Took the rest of the game off. I don't know what happened. Toledo beat Ball State 22-12. Rockets had 172 passing yards and 266 rushing yards. Cardinals had 225 passing yards, but only 93 rushing yards. Eastern Michigan 59, Texas State 21. Eagles had 257 passing yards and 252 rushing yards. Quarterback Ben Bryant threw for 228 and 3 touchdowns. Bobcats ended up with 288 total yards. Northern Illinois moves to 2-2 with a 41-14 win over the mighty Maine Black Bears. Utah 24, Washington State 13. Cougars led this game all the way to the fourth, and Utah scored 14 unanswered in the fourth to win. Utah ended up with 355 total yards. Washington State ended up with 318. Utes moved to 2-2, and the Cougars fall to 1-3. Just this one here, NC State beats Clemson 27-21. I really don't know what to say about Clemson. I don't know what's going on there. It's like after Trevor Lawrence and some other guys left, they just kind of, not saying hit rock bottom, but they're on their way and they're taking the fast lane. So, I don't know. Their offense really seems to struggle with good teams, too. I mean, it's weird what's going on there. Wolfpack had 386 total yards in this game. Quarterback Devin Leary had 73% pass completion rate. 238 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Pretty good. Wide receiver Devin Carter had 5 catches for 2 touchdowns. Not bad for him. Wide receiver Mikia Mizi had 14 catches for 116 yards and a touchdown. Clemson had just 214 total yards. That's nuts. See what they have been doing the last several years. All right, here we go. Quarterback DJ, I never know how to say this guy's name. Ugabaleli, I don't know. He only had 46% completion rate. 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. He's completing only 56% of his passes this year. And what they talk about, he was going to be the guy to make you forget about Trevor Lawrence. Isn't that what they were saying, preseason and all that? But I don't know. Wide receiver Justin Ross caught 8 passes for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wolfpack had lost 8 straight and 15 of the last 16 to Clemson before Saturday. So Iowa, they survived Colorado 24-14, and I was actually down 14-7 at the half, but scored 17 unanswered in the second half to win the game. Hawkeyes have 225 passing yards, but were held to just 54 rushing yards. That's another one of these head scratchers here where you wonder if they took them lightly or just uninspired or not prepped well. I mean, I don't know. Quarterback Spencer Petras threw for 224 and 2 touchdowns. Hey, linebacker Jake Campbell had 18 tackles and a fumble recovery, so he had a pretty good game there on defense. Baylor survives, beating Iowa State 31-29. This was an 8-point game at halftime. Cyclones defense struggled in the first half, letting Baylor score 21 points. Bears had 284 total yards in this game. Quarterback Jerry Bohannon went 14 for 19, threw for 158 and 2 touchdowns. He also rushed for 39 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Thornton and tight end Sims each had a touchdown catch. Bears scored touchdowns on their first 3 possessions. Tristan Ebner returned a kickoff for 98 yards for a touchdown. That's pretty good. Iowa State accumulated more yards in this game. They had 479 total yards. Brock Purdy went 22-39, 263 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Does it seem like he's off this year? Doesn't seem like he's playing as well as he did last year. But I don't know. Just something's off with him this year. I don't know what it is. Running back Breece Hall had a pretty good day. 24 carries, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He also caught 5 passes for 51 yards and a touchdown. Cyclones, they couldn't finish drives. They were 5 for 14 on 3rd down in that game. That's not going to get it done. Maryland goes to 4-0, beating Kent State 37-16. Terps were up 37-9 in the 3rd quarter. They didn't score in the 4th quarter, but it was enough. Defense held the Golden Flashes to just 7 points in the 4th. So here's another one we're going to try. Quarterback Tulia Tagovailoa. See, I can never say these guys' names. Tu's brother. Threw for 384 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had a 75% completion rate. Pretty good. Kent State racked up 458 yards, but couldn't finish drives, even if their life depended on it. Even though Maryland turned the ball over twice and had 9 penalties for 120 yards. Kent State quarterback threw for 308 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Dante Cephas had 10 catches for 151 yards and a touchdown. San Diego State 48, Towson 21. Aztecs moved to 4-0. But good news is Towson quarterback Chris Ferguson threw 3 touchdown passes, so that's a little bright side in their loss. Florida State. Louisville 31, Florida State 23. Louisville scored their 31 points in the first half, and that was it. No more. I guess they figured that's all we need. It's Knowles. They're not playing well. Their offense took off the second half. If you looked at the stats and not the scores, you would think Florida State won this game. Cardinals had 395 total yards, 264 passing, 131 rushing. Knowles had 441 total yards, 236 passing, and 205 rushing. Wide receivers Hamill and Watkins each had a touchdown catch. Seminoles hung in there, give them credit, but they just came up short again. Marquise Milton threw for 236, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Running back Josh Corbin had 11 carries, 159, and 1 touchdown. FSU is 0-4 for the first time since 1974. All right, so Florida State. Is it just a matter of them having bad luck? Because they played some close games. Some games they could have won. You think they're just tuckering out? Do you think they're giving up? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think about Florida State. It's crazy. All the success they've had. Well, last couple of years they haven't had that good of success, but I don't know what's going on there. That's crazy. 2 undefeated is going at it. Michigan beat Rutgers 20-13. I'm sorry. Wolverines scored their 20 points in the first half, and that was it. This seems to be a trend this past weekend. It's like teams did all their work in the first half, and they say, "Yeah, just gonna kick back, take the second half off." No. Yeah, like Louisville. Michigan's offense took the second half off also. Rutgers outgained Michigan in total yards, 352 to 275. Wolverines running back Hanson Hawkins rushed for 41 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rutgers quarterback Noah Verdal threw for 156 and 1 touchdown. Running back Aaron Young, he also caught a TD pass. Rutgers hasn't beaten a ranked team since 2009. I did not know that. UTSA stays unbeaten in the hard-fought battle. They beat Memphis 31-28, and Roadrunners were actually down by 14 at the half before they came back. This was the heartbreaker. This one actually pisses me off. Arkansas 20, A&M 10. Aggies were off on both sides of the ball. Their O-line was horrible. I mean, there were a few times where they couldn't stop a 3-man rush. It's like, what the hell? Jeez. Razorbacks racked up 441 total yards. KJ Jefferson passed for 213 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Traylon Banks had 6 catches for 167 yards and 1 touchdown. Running back A.J. Green had a 48-yard catch, TD catch. Aggies racked up only 217 total yards. Zach Calzada was 20 for 36, 151 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Isaiah Spiller ran for 95 yards and scored the Aggies' only touchdown. Aggies gave up big plays and drives. So, okay, I've been an Aggie fan. That's my team since I was a kid. And when I see things like this year, like with a preseason ranked where they are, like they have been a couple other times, I'm always one of the ones that says, no, let's just hang on and wait and see what happens this season. Because, like I said, I've been a fan for this team for too long. And I know a lot of you remember when Kevin Sumlin was their coach, it didn't matter who the team was. They'd be beating them 40, 50 to nothing at halftime. And then they would just, all right, that's good enough. And that team would come back in the second half and beat them. It's like week after week. So when they had that high preseason ranking, I was like, no, let's just hang on. And all the media is talking about it. And I was like, let's just hang on. And all the talking heads on TV are talking about them. I was like, nope, let's hang on. And sure enough, they lose to Arkansas. So all of a sudden, this A&M Bama game that everybody was raving about since last spring really doesn't have that shine anymore. I mean, I personally didn't think A&M was going to beat Alabama anyway, because that's just the way it works. Alabama is just too good, and Aggies never seem to get up to that level. They did that one year with Manziel, but that guy was a freak on the field. I'm sure if they got another freak on the field, they could beat Alabama. But where are you gonna find one? That's like a once in a lifetime thing. And I did not expect Arkansas to be this good this year. So when they beat Texas like they did, I thought, oh crap, this is gonna be a tough game. And seeing the way Aggies were playing those couple of weeks. So, hey, I love my Aggies, but I'm realistic every year. So, I don't know. Purdue 13, Illinois 9. Illinois loses another one, only manages to score 3 field goals. Purdue scored 6 in the first quarter and the 7th in the fourth, so they weren't producing too good either. With that kind of offense, Purdue's lucky to be 3-1. And all of a sudden, that Brett Bielema win against Illinois, or I'm sorry, against Nebraska, that's kind of like, seems like years ago. So here's a question. Is this just Brett Bielema getting things going, and he's going to be successful in Illinois? Another Big Ten team like he had success at Wisconsin? Or is this going to turn into another Arkansas fiasco? I hope it doesn't, because I like Brett Bielema. I like his interviews. He's a good coach. He's had a lot of success. I really hope it works out for him in Illinois and it's not another Arkansas debacle. So hopefully they'll win something here. Wyoming barely improves to 4-0. We mentioned that earlier. After flying cross country and beating UConn 24-22. Cowboys actually trailed in this game by 13 points. Sean Chambers went 15 for 26, 149 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Xavier Valladay rushed for 101 yards on 22 carries and 1 touchdown. And Titus Sween rushed for 84 yards on 15 carries for 1 touchdown. So they got enough to get it done and get back to Wyoming. Auburn beat Georgia State 34-24 after they were losing 24-12 at the half. That was just nuts, isn't it? Bo Nix was from what I understand, benched in the third. Auburn fans, are you over Bo Nix? Or are you still hoping to see what you've seen in the past? Remember that one game, I think it was the first game of the year 2 years ago? Man, the way he tore up Oregon, and then he's doing that to other teams, and now he's just kind of like, I don't know, slowly gone downhill, or I don't know what's going on there. Are you guys ready for another quarterback, or you want to stick with him? What's going on there? Oh, man, we could have had a hell of a basketball game. Duke and Kansas. Buzz football, and Duke won 52, Kansas 33. Jayhawks were actually up at halftime by 3 points. Duke exploded in the third for 21 points. Duke outscored Kansas 31-9 in the second half. Blue Devils quarterback Gunnar Holmberg threw for 328, 1 TD, and rushed for 4 TDs. Wow, that's pretty impressive. And Kansas still got their 1-game winning streak, looking to add to that. I think Kansas just probably waiting for basketball season to start. Tulsa 41, Arkansas State 34. Tulsa ended up with 624 total yards. Red Wolves had a total of 366 yards, most of them in the air. James Blackman passed for 321, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Both teams are 1-3. Buffalo squeaks out one against Old Dominion, winning 35-34. Bills scored their, here's another one. Bills scored 35 points in the first half and then went on a picnic the second half. Yeah, I don't know what was going on last Saturday. Everybody did all their work in the first half, and the second half they took off. That's just crazy. East Carolina 31, Charleston Southern 28. Pirates down 14-0 in the first quarter, but came back to score 24 points in the second quarter to help get that win. UCLA 35, Stanford 24. Bruins were up 21-7 at the half and were actually outscored 17-14 in the second half. UCLA finished with 467 total yards. Stanford finished with 348 total yards. UCLA quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson threw for 252 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he rushed for 1 more. And then Stanford quarterback Tanner McKee went 18 for 30, 219 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Louisiana 28, Georgia Southern 20. Cajuns were up only by 1 at the half, but outscored the Eagles 14-7 in the second half. Cajuns are now 3-1. The Eagles are 1-3. Rice finally gets their first win. 48-34 over TSU. Oh, both teams scored 28 points in the second half, but Rice scored just a few more in the first half to win that game. So good for you, Owls. About time you got it. Oklahoma State 31, Kansas State 20. Both were undefeated going into this game. Cowboy quarterbacks Spencer Sanders threw for 344 and 2 touchdowns and rushed for another touchdown. Wide receivers Martina and Presley each had a touchdown catch. Cowboys defense shut down the Wildcats running game and held Kansas State to only 62 rushing yards. Houston 28, Navy 20. Navy was actually winning this game by 10 at halftime. Cougars came back to score 21 points in the second half to help win. Clayton Tune threw for 257 yards and 1 touchdown. Running back Tayshawn Henry, ran for 54 yards and 2 touchdowns. Navy had 277 total yards. Quarterback Xavier Airline rushed for 64 yards and 1 touchdown. And get this, you ready for this? A fullback. Yes, a fullback. You know that extinct player that we used to see all the time years ago, and now you see him maybe once a year? Fullback Isaac Voss rushed for 55 yards and a touchdown. Good for him. Nice to see the fullback back in the football game. Navy is 0-3. How crazy is that? You figure they'd be 3-0 or 2-1, but they can't get it together this year. Another mistake-riddled loss for Nebraska. Michigan State beat them 23-20. Cornhuskers actually outscored Sparty 431 total yards to 259. Both offenses were sluggish, and both defenses took advantage of that. Spartan quarterback Peyton Thorne threw for 183 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Wide receiver Reed had 4 catches for 59 yards and 1 touchdown, and a punt return for a touchdown. Kicker Coughlin kicked 3 field goals. Probably helped win them, huh? Nebraska quarterback Adrian Martinez threw for 236, 0 touchdowns and interception, but he did rush for 72 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nice to see our Nebraska quarterback running again. I personally think Nebraska is playing some good football. They just, mistakes and penalties are costing them. I mean, because when you think about it, let's eliminate their mistakes and penalties. They should have won this game. Should have beat Oklahoma. And who knows what would have happened. They could have beat Illinois. So, I mean, Nebraska is right there. If they could just eliminate the mistakes and penalties, they were right there. But the question is, does the administration see that, or are they just going to get rid of Frost? I mean, are they looking at the big picture here? What's going on? Or are they just going to say, well, that's enough. Let's go with somebody else. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. La Tech bounces back from that heartbreaking loss last week and beat North Texas 24-17. Bulldog running back Marcus Williams ran for 2 touchdowns, and J.D. Hidd threw for a touchdown. Oh, man, Florida 38, Tennessee 14. The Vols looked like they came to play. That first half, they were right there with Florida. I said, man, this is going to be a different Florida-Tennessee game. And then halftime came, and that thought was pretty much killed because it was a 3-point game at the half. Gators scored 21 in the second half to the Vols 0. So that kind of did it right there. Florida had 505 total yards. Emory Jones threw for 209, 2 touchdowns, and he also rushed for 144. Is that right? Wow, that's impressive. Trent Whittemore also threw a 13-yard touchdown pass. Running backs Davis and Wright had a rushing touchdown each. Wide receiver Wells had a touchdown catch, as did tight end Gamble and running back Knox. Defense gave up some big plays, though, Tennessee, especially in the first half. That's why Tennessee kind of looked like they were in this game, but maybe it's just the Florida defense, the failure of the Florida defense in the first half. Volunteers had 423 total yards. Quarterback Hendon Hooker threw for 221 and 2 touchdowns. He was knocked out of the game in the fourth quarter, though, by the Florida defense. Tennessee only had 148 rushing yards. That's crazy. Wide receiver Peyton and running back Evans each caught a touchdown pass. And this was the Gators' 5th straight win in the series, evidently. So, I don't know. Tennessee looks like they're getting better. I mean, that was a hell of a game against Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago. And this started out as a hell of a game until halftime. But they're getting there. Kentucky held on to beat South Carolina 16-10. This does not look like the Kentucky team we've seen this year. I don't know what's going on there. Wildcats were up 10-0 at the half. Gamecocks scored their 10 in the second half. Running back Keversi Smoke scored the Wildcats' only touchdown. Kicker Matt Ruffalo kicked the other 9 points. So pretty good weekend for field goal kickers, evidently. Chris Rodriguez, though, the Kentucky running back nobody really talks about, he did rush for 144 yards on 26 carries. No touchdowns, but still. Kentucky committed 3 turnovers in this game. Gamecocks had 216 total yards. Quarterback Luke Doty went for 17 for 25, 158 yards, and 1 touchdown. Wide receiver Jalen Brooks was in the big yard gainer with 63 receiving yards. Gamecocks offense needs a lot of work. I don't know. But Shane Beamer, I still got faith in this guy, see what he's going to do. Poor Akron. Ohio State 59, Akron 7. Zips scored their lonely little 7 points in the first quarter. That was it. C.J. Stroud was out with an injury, but the offense really didn't care, I guess. Ohio State has 622 total yards. Backup quarterback Kyle McCord has 72% completion rate, 319 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Wide receiver Garrett Wilson had 4 catches for 124 yards. Wide receivers Olive and Smith Najba had a touchdown catch each. 3 running backs scored. Henderson had 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. Teague had 71 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Pryor was good for 35 yards and a touchdown. Just like always, the Buckeye defense struggled at first. They kind of came around a little bit as the game went on, but still didn't look like the old Buckeye defenses like we usually did. But they did sack Akron quarterback DJ Irons 4 times. Picked him off twice, including a 46-yard pick six by safety Ronnie Hickman. Akron had 229 total yards. Quarterback DJ Irons was 14 for 29, 116 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Seems like Akron was probably just outmatched. They didn't have the talent-wise that Ohio State had. Here's another one. Georgia Tech 45, North Carolina 22. Tar Heels are another team you can't figure out. You know, they get beat by Virginia Tech. First of all, the preseason ranked, 10, I think. Lose to Va-Tech. We're like, well, what's going on here? Are they bad, or is Va-Tech just really that good this year? Then they turn into the Carolina that we've seen the last couple of years and beat teams like they should. And Sam Howell's having great games. And like, all right. And then they come to this one and they lose this one. I don't know what to make of Carolina. They play good. They don't play good. It's like pick a side. What do you want to do here? Oh, boy. Yellow Jackets have 394 total yards. Jeff Sims was 10 for 13, 112 yards, 1 touchdown. But he rushed for 128 and 3 touchdowns. That ain't bad. Wide receivers Carter and running back Gibbs had a TD catch each. They sacked Sam Howell 8 times in this game. Tar Heels have 368 total yards. Sam Howell threw for 306 and 2 touchdowns. He fumbled 3 times. Rushed for a touchdown. Rest of Carolina's running game was shut down to only just 62 yards. So Mac Brown needs to figure out what's going on there. Alabama 63, Southern Miss 14. I'm guessing Saban had a talk with them boys this last week and got on their ass, and now they're playing like Bama because they were up 42-7 at the half. Bama had 606 total yards. Bryce Young was 20 for 22, 313 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He hit 2 wide receivers and 2 tight ends, all for a touchdown. Running back Rodale Williams ran for 110 yards and a touchdown. Defense held the Eagles to 131 passing yards and 82 rushing yards. Jameis Williams, 100-yard kickoff return for a kick, and then he had an 83-yard run back and an 81-yard touchdown catch. Pretty good game for him. This one here was a pretty good battle. Oklahoma 16, West Virginia 13. Sooners, they've been flirting with losing all year. Almost lost to Tulane, almost lost to Nebraska, almost lost here. And they keep playing like that, it's going to catch up to them one day. Mountaineers played them pretty tough. Both teams' running games sucked. OU had 312 total yards. Spencer Rattler was 26 for 36, 256 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and he was booed. But those numbers, I didn't see the game. I was watching the Florida-Tennessee game. But with those numbers there, I kind of wondered why he was booed. Maybe because he wasn't throwing more touchdown passes. Sometimes fans are kind of hard to figure out. West Virginia had 247 total yards. Quarterback Jarek Doeg threw for 160 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. The other quarterback, Green, rushed for a touchdown. Neither one of these teams played impressive, but also defenses weren't too bad either. So, Air Force, no problem with Florida Atlantic. They win 31-7. Falcons had 446 rushing yards. Quarterback Daniels ran for 164 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not too bad. Hawaii moved to 2-2, got their second win of the season, beat New Mexico State 41-21. New Mexico State falls to 1-4. Indiana 33, Western Kentucky 31. Hoosiers escaped to get to 2-2. They had 499 total yards. The quarterback Michael Penix had 373 passing yards, but no TDs. Running back Stephen Kerr had rushed for 109 yards and 2 TDs. Hilltoppers had 458 total yards. Their quarterback Bailey Zapp threw for 365 yards and 3 touchdowns. Not too bad, but it just wasn't enough. Louisiana Monroe 29, Troy 16. Get this, Warhawks linebacker Jacquez Williams had a 96-yard pick six. Linebacker, 96-yard pick six. You probably need some O2 there when he got back to the sideline. UAB 28, Tulane 21. Blazers are 3-1. Green Wave dropped to 1-3. UTEP 20, New Mexico 13. Lobos were up by 10 at the half. Miners scored 17 unanswered in the second half to win that game. Huskies win 2 in a row to improve to 2-2. Washington beats California 31-24. BYU 35, South Florida 27. Cougars were up 28-6 at the half. But like the other teams, they took the second half off. One got a hot dogs, something at the stands, I don't know. Wildcats, Oregon 41, Arizona 19. Wildcats can't break that losing streak. They have the longest FBS losing streak in the country right now. Arizona State 35, Colorado 13. Arizona State had 435 total yards. Colorado had 250 total yards. Sun Devils held the Buffaloes to just 67 passing yards. Oregon State 45, USC 27. It was a close game at halftime until the Beavers scored 14 in the third. If the Beavers and Oregon Ducks continue to play like this, when that Civil War game happens here in a couple of months, that's going to be a hell of a game. I mean, it really is. Okay. Finally, that's it. We'll be back Friday. We're going to preview the weekend. Go over who won Thursday night. I forget who's playing, but we'll go over that. News headlines. Yeah. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell your coworkers to subscribe so you don't miss a show. They can just listen to it in the background while they're actually doing work over here. Anyway, y'all be safe. Hope your week goes by fast, and we'll see you Friday.